All right, everybody, I'm Eric with Eric's Excursions. Today, I'm at Oak Hill Cemetery in Lakeland, Florida, visiting the gravesite of George Haldeman. Who was George Haldeman? Let's go check this out. So this is the gravesite of George Haldeman Sr., born July 28, 1898, and he died here in Lakeland, Florida, September 10th, 1982. He was a pioneer aviator. Also, he moved to Lakeland in 1914, where he became a flight instructor. He served in the military, and he became a test pilot, setting several aviation records in speed and altitude. He was an American aviator. And here's a picture of George Haldeman standing by a plane. So what I'm going to attempt to do today is try to explain how two lives kind of came together through a historic event. Enter into the picture Ruth Elder, and she was a pioneering American aviatrix, and she was also an actress of the silent screen era. And she moved to Lakeland in 1926. So Mr. Haldeman had already been here for some time, roughly about 12 years, and he was a flight instructor. So when she was here, by 1927, Charles Lindbergh had successfully crossed the transatlantic, being the first person ever to do so. She was inspired by Charles Lindbergh on what he did. A few months later, she wanted to attempt the same thing. So she learns how to fly. Mr. Haldeman is her flight instructor, and she asked Mr. Haldeman if he would accompany her on this historic flight, her being the first female to cross the transatlantic. So in 1927, the first transatlantic flight by a female was attempted. So both Ruth Elder and George Haldeman are remembered for this famous flight attempt, as it gained worldwide attention. And here we got a picture of Ruth Elder and George Haldeman together. This was October 11th, 1927, when this picture was taken. And what's interesting about Ruth Elder is she was a model and an actress, and she had saved up some money from what I understand, some of her modeling jobs that she had, and so she paid for her flight lessons, learned how to fly, and so the rest is history. What had happened was, on this first transatlantic flight, which gained worldwide attention, her being the first female to try this attempt, the flight took off from New York, and she flew 2,623 miles in 36 hours. But the trip was cut short because of a mechanical failure. I believe an oil line was cut. They had some type of mechanical failure. So the pair, George Haldeman and Ruth Elder, were forced to abandon the plane in the ocean. However, they were rescued by a Dutch tanker. Another interesting fact was, in 1927, she was actually a dental assistant here in Lakeland. So even though both pilots did not make it successfully to Paris, they did set a new over-water distance record, and Ruth Elder established the longest flight ever made by a woman. So both Haldeman and Elder became national heroes and were celebrated with a ticker tape parade in New York City upon their return. This flight, this famous flight, actually helped Ruth Elder become a silent screen actress. And she starred in 2 silent films, and then she made 5 appearances, or I should say appearances in 5 other films in the late 1920s. And she also did live in Lakeland for some time, but she, I believe she had moved, I want to say to California. Don't quote me on that, but she did not stay in Lakeland. Here we got a picture of Ruth Elder with what looks like to be a Model T Ford and her plane, the American Girl. Here's a good shot of her plane, American Girl. All right, you guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. I thought it was interesting. In my own hometown, kind of stumbled upon this story, and I thought I'd make a video about it because it was really interesting. A very historic flight that made worldwide news. And it all started right here in Lakeland, Florida. Who knew? So yeah, it's one of the things I really enjoy about making videos, is learning new things. And I would have never known this had I not been making videos. We probably have never learned or heard about it. So, but yeah, so it's a pretty amazing the amount of history that goes on around us and that's happened before us and before our time. That was a long time ago. Actually, 100 years ago. 100 years ago. That's really crazy. Well, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to hit thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. It helps me out. And thank you again for watching. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you.